know me, so quiet.
Yes, we're recording, yeah. All right.
We're on? Very good. And it is exactly 9 o'clock. I'll call this meeting to order, if we are ready. And this is the Bay Oaks Recreational Campus Advisory Board, commonly known as BORCAB. It's December 3rd, 2019, at 9 a.m. in the Town Hall chambers. This meeting is called to order. Would you all please rise for the pledge to our flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. For the benefit of our transcriber, let's go down the line and say who we are.
Ray Sproul.
Betty Simpson.
Becky Bodner.
Lee Melsick.
Barbara Hill.
Sarah Mayer.
Allison Geeson.
Joanne Champ.
Very good. Thank you all for being here. And that brings us to opportunity. Item 4, board organization. Anybody have anything to get started on that?
Board organization, is that where?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I'd like to nominate Betty Simpson for, to remain as chairman.
Second it, Ray Sproul.
Any other nominations?
Move to
not-
close nominations.
Vice Chair.
I like your style. Thank you. Oh, thank you for the vote of confidence, and I'd be delighted to continue to serve in this particular capacity. Okay, we also have a spot for vice chairman.
Make a motion for Barbara.
Second motion.
We have a motion and a second.
Move to close nominations.
All right. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Very good. And we have Vice Chairman Barb. Thank you, Barbara. Very good. All right, we are reorganized and look forward to a great year. And I know that we will have it, especially with our everything getting completed now. So, okay, that brings us to public comment. And do you want to speak now, or would you rather be under the item for discussion? You will be next anyway. Okay? However you want to do it. All right, well then let's move to items for discussion. And if it's all right, Denise has said that she's on a time constraint. And so she has asked to. Oh, my gosh. Do you mind if we have the approval of our minutes first? Of course. Okay. Let's have the approval of our November 5th minutes. Barb? Okay, do we have a second?
Seconded, Jana.
Janet? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, that passes unanimously, and thank you for your patience with us. Okay, yes, Denise asked if she could be moved to the beginning of the items for discussion because she's under some time constraints. So at this time, I would ask Friends of the Bay Oaks Recreational Campus, Denise, to come forward. Nice to have you with us today.
So nice to be here. I really have missed seeing you all and seeing the new faces. Some of you don't know me. I'm Denise Monahan, and I was on this board for a number of years.
Yes.
Wish there were two of me so that I could be more involved again because it's really nice to be back. I wanted to come today. Sarah had asked me to give an update on the Friends of Bay Oaks, and so that's what I'm here to do today. So as I said, some of you don't know me or know the origins, but I wanted to give you a little background. In 2017, when I was serving on BORCAB, there was a lot going on with the council at that time. And there was a lot of discussion about closing the facility, parking vehicles in the gymnasium. There was a lot of outcry on social media about this. A lot from people that grew up here that all of a sudden became re-engaged with what was going on. And we just realized why we have this momentum, it would be a great time to form an official friends group and capitalize on that energy. So I took on the task, and it took us a while, but we did get our official nonprofit status. In those early days, I was getting emails from easily 100 people. We had over 30 people coming on a regular basis to our meetings. There was panic and passion about the importance of Bay Oaks, and it was fabulous. Randy was in the middle of leaving, and we were without a director at that time. And for those of us who really care about Bay Oaks, it was a particularly scary time. Our meetings were incredibly productive. What we decided the mission of the Friends of Bay Oaks was twofold. It was to raise funds, as friends groups do, and it was also to raise awareness, because what we have repeatedly, and I'm sure this remains a big point of discussion at these meetings, people still don't seem to know about what we do, what's offering, how it benefits all demographics of the island. So those were our missions: raise funds, raise awareness. Fast forward, we hired Sean DePalma. He really came in. We got a new council. There was a renewed commitment to supporting it. We got the amazing new gym floors, enrollment feedback, incredible improvements to our after-school programs. Things were great. What happened then was enrollment fell off. My board moved on to other nonprofits, other jobs. And so in the last year, the Friends of Bay Oaks has really gone pretty dark, which is unfortunate for me because we have this incredible infrastructure in place. Nonetheless, we were involved in a number of things with Bay Oaks. Starting a year ago, we participated in the Women's Club Christmas weekend, and we raffled off a Bay Oaks tree. We participated in the Putt and Pub Crawl again, which is a fabulous event. In previous years, all the funds would come into one nonprofit, and last year it was changed, so we only got one hole, which was plenty. We raised over $1,000 from that. Drag Queen Bingo last February raised another $3,400. So those are some of the ways that, even limping along with the rather mild turnout to our meetings, we were still able to raise some capital. Activities, so where did that money go? Well, most of it remains in the bank, but we also, at the last minute, we got a bit of a panic because the Easter egg hunt was now the responsibility of Bay Oaks. So the Friends group was able to come together to stuff the eggs and contribute the funds for the activities there, which was great, and really got a lot of folks available to stuff eggs. It was a lot of fun. End of school carnival, we donated funds that were needed there, as well as for Fright Night. However, most of the funds are in the bank. We still have $18,108 in the account. And the mission was to raise the funds, but we really wanted to use them to their best potential, which we felt was have them available for matching funds for grants. Oftentimes, when you go for these grants, they're going to want to see that you are viable and you have money in the bank. And we said, we want to keep this money in-house so that when we get grants, we can back it up. And that remains, I think, the best use of funds. We were able to really put together the bones thanks to Diane Felton and some other, Deb Voorhees and a few other volunteers, Vera Roth. We had a grant writing subcommittee. You can actually go onto one of the shared drives out there and you will see all of our financials, everything that you need, the foundation of what you will need to submit a grant. We also had a grant calendar of all the grants that we wanted to go for. So again, we have this incredible foundation in place, and we're lacking, we need a renewed interest in folks to help drive it. At this time, unfortunately, all the grants that we have gone for, we have been denied. We were shooting high. We went for a TDC grant. We went for a Gannett grant. We were really going probably a little ahead of where we truly are right now. But there are some lower ones that we applied for and also got denied. So we clearly need some help in that area. Deb Voorhees was on helping us with grant writing, and she is now the head of Lover's Key. So good for her, sad for us. So that infrastructure is in place. We really hope to get that going again. Another opportunity is, I don't know if you are all aware, but the Women's Club kind of has started the Alliance for Nonprofits. Is everybody familiar with that? When I was able to attend, it was just a phenomenal resource for sharing creative ideas, letting other groups know what you're doing. They have a pass the bag where you can put in any brochures that you have for upcoming events, and they'll be on display at any island event. We really need to get somebody to go to those, to attend, to be a voice. It's another really great area for the Friends group. So the challenges, so we started with, our bylaws say that we are required to have 5 on the board. We, in practicality, have no one right now. Myself, Paul Iacobelli, Sharon Faircloth, Elizabeth Dionfrino, and RJ Snyder. Everyone that I just named has told me that although they love Bay Oaks, they can no longer be involved for various reasons. As I have mentioned to many of you, I'm excited. I have taken a full-time position at another nonprofit off-island, which I love. It speaks to my heart, and I'm happy about it. But again, it leaves this huge gap in the Friends group. And so I'm hoping in coming to speak to you today, you can make it a part of your meetings and your dialogue to somehow help me breathe life into this really strong foundation that we have. At the moment, I have paperwork that I need to get filed to get us back in the good graces of the state because we are, there is a lot of paperwork to keep on top of. And I will continue to do that to make sure we retain our nonprofit status. That's it. That's the summary of how we got here and where we are now. Any questions?
Where do you hold your meetings?
We were holding them on the second Wednesday of every month. The last 2 meetings that I had, no one showed up.
That's at the center, the Bay Oaks Rec Center?
We hold them at the rec center in the senior room.
Okay.
And, you know, it's a challenge. When there was a sense of urgency, people showed up. When we were doing well, you know, it's the same folks that seem to be the ones that are committed, and they always have other loyalties to other groups. So yes, the last 2 meetings that I had, it was me.
Are you sure? Are you sure? I never got notifications of any meeting.
Okay. It's been a while. It has been a while.
Are you doing any matching funds like through Facebook? My husband is doing one right now. He cut his hair and he's donating it to children's children with hair loss like cancer. And they matched him dollar for dollar. That happens today, and he raised over 1,000 within a week, and he
And
got 1,000.
There are so many amazing
Yeah.
ideas like that. We had a Facebook page. We had the bones of a website. We have so many opportunities like that you're talking about. I feel like it's right there for the askings, but I need help. I need somebody to say, yes, I'm going to do this campaign. The Facebook page exists. The followers are there. I need somebody to help say, let's do this. Let's drive this. Let's explain to people why we're raising this money, where it's going, why it's important. The foundation is in place. I just need help.
Would you remain on the board?
Absolutely.
You're one of the, so you need 4 more
Yeah,
minimum?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we worked really hard to get this in place, although it saddens me to see it but I understand that is the cycle of nonprofits, and so I am encouraged that everything remains in place and we still have money in the bank. So it's okay. We can do this. It's
Ju- Just a suggestion, Ray Sproul. Have you talked to like Shannon or Landini about, to get some maybe young parents from the Little League? And isn't I'm out of the loop. Isn't soccer almost done, or they should be having their end of their season?
I have spoke to Beth and Shannon and
Because
and
those
Bev.
would be,
I have spoke to all of them, and they say that they face the same
Yeah, they
challenges
are.
with their nonprofits.
yeah. I'm just wondering if they would jump on and
Typically,
help.
when I ask, they say, "What are you doing Friday night? Because we could use somebody to park cars." So, so that's the way those.
I know.
things
I'm
go.
just thinking some parent,
Right.
Of course,
And-
I
and-
showed up to
and
one Little League
honestly-
meeting, and next, I was on there for the next
Honestly,
6 years.
In the beginning,
the
when
way
we
it
were
works.
holding the meetings, we had a good 10% of our of the folks that came to the meeting were from the after-school program.
Okay, good. Okay.
Denise, I
Yes.
just want to applaud you and your organization for starting this a few years ago and the work involved in getting that 18,000 raised, and the fact that you all as a board made the decision to hold on to that money for matching grant opportunities. So I think the organization, as you've structured it, is really, really awesome and really puts you in a great position moving forward. I do feel now that we have our strategic plan approved by council, excuse me, that we can now move forward with some really great, exciting, expanded plans for Bay Oaks, for which you then will be, I think, playing a very active role, because we'll be going for grants, and certainly that funding will be very helpful. We've done this with the Friends of the Mound House, with our CELCAB board. The Arts and Attractions Grant, for example, was funded by the Friends of the Mound House, but obviously, it's a question of, community participation and staff involvement and political will that makes all of that work. So kudos to you and your organization for laying the groundwork, because you will be very actively involved, and I would venture to say getting new members as a result of what we're planning for the future.
I honestly could not have started it without the help of Seal and other folks and Allison. Seal was with me every step of the way, providing me with what you used to get me started. So whether you know it or not, you were very involved in it. That's where we are today.
Well, I think the Friends of the Mound House certainly has proven, especially the last couple of years, to be such a success story about what it was, 10 years ago, and what it is today, and how they're actively involved in advocating and raising funds for the Mound House. So I certainly see the same thing happening here.
Any other questions? And I also want to thank you so much, because I remember when you were starting, and we would meet over in the room.
Right.
And it was one of those things that, yes, we were going to come and follow up, but we all get fractured and get other things that come up at that time. Not that anything else is more important, but something else may have just taken precedence at that time.
We have 2 seasons here, right? And one, everyone's here and they're
Yep.
busy, and the other season, everyone's gone and needs a break, so.
Right,
It's a trick, but we all.
Exactly.
But we all, you know,
yeah.
experience
So
that.
Denise, it's a second Tuesday of every month?
We have not had a meeting in many months, so I will hold a meeting whenever you think. I don't have any planned. I
Okay.
don't have it, I do not have an invitation out there at the moment.
Okay.
Honestly, because I send out emails periodically and say, and I make phone calls and I go to meetings and I say, I really need a board member. I cannot continue to be the only person on the board.
Right.
I'm actually in violation of our bylaws by doing that. And I asked people specifically, hi, I see you're back in town. You said you were interested, and they go, I'll come to the meeting, I can't be on the board. I have got to get a board in place before I feel comfortable holding meetings again. So that needs to be the next order of business.
So I'm thinking if I announce this in our church, because it's Chapel by the Sea, which is right there, if I announce it in the church, do I have them call you personally?
Yes, please.
Okay.
I was an elder there at one time, and there might be a few folks that still remember me, and I would love to see some friendly faces. Please have
Your
them call me.
number. I think I have your number, but I better check with you before I do that.
Bay Oaks. Yes. It became quite duplicitous with the regular friends, so it needs new life. So.
You bet.
Well,
Well,
that's a shame that you're the Lone Ranger now. If you've sought out people, what is the response? I mean, what are the responses to your?
It's the 80-20 rule, right? So you've got the 20% of folks that are doing everything in the town, it seems. And the response is, I would love, either you don't get a response from the 80%, or the same 20% of the people are responding saying, I would love to, but I can't because I'm already on X, Y, and Z board. That has typically been the makeup of the reply. I did have an employee at Bay Oaks say that they wanted to serve on the board, Sarah. That was great. There was some question on conflict of interest if a board member could serve on the Friends group. I mean, an employee could serve on the Friends group as a board member. It was a non-issue because we need more than one, so I thought I would revisit that. Yeah. Sarah?
Oh, they're
Sarah?
Not you, Sarah. the other Sarah.
Joanne Champ. I just also want to say thank you, Denise. And you are one of those people that always steps up in the community. And you're right. The issue is that it's the same people over and over and over again who are so dedicated. And very often what we get are people saying what they don't like, but not, committing to making things better or to, doing what needs to be done. And what you said about the passion and urgency that came about, as you said, when you started the Friends, at the same point, we need, you said passion and panic, but now what we need is passion and urgency because, we are in the leadership opportunity, the financial opportunity, the branding, everything is open now and ready, and what we're looking for is leadership on it. And I know that Allison and BORCAB will provide that, but we also need the community to commit and come forward and give their ideas so it becomes what the community wants for itself. And it's frustrating. I'll just say as a member of town council, it's a little frustrating that you feel like, okay, we know what we have is not working, but what is it that we want? And I don't get a lot of feedback on that. It's so funny because you do hear what people don't like. I've asked so many people, well, what do you want to see? And everybody's like, I don't know. So it's tough because there is that, I guess there's an apathetic contentment that comes about living on an island in paradise. So, so
I will
unless there's a fire to put out, people are happy with, their beach chairs. So it's a little tough.
Well,
It's tough.
I would like to comment on that. One recurring comment that we got, and you were at a lot of those early meetings, and one recurring comment and frustration was that people don't know we're here. They don't know the classes that we offer. They don't know. And I have a list of really great suggestions that we never could get off the ground, of ways to get our restaurants involved in promoting us and ways to really do more of an outreach. And we did get some really great suggestions that we just never saw through, because I think, yes, people are content, but I think there's a whole group of folks that just would have more of opinion if they knew more of the potential that's there. They knew more about the classes and the space that's there. That just was such a reoccurring theme, that raise awareness piece of our mission statement.
Information, those suggestions ever conveyed to staff in terms of what they felt was really great
Yes,
to
and that is how the grant writing came about.
Okay.
We we made some changes to the newsletter and how that was distributed. So we got an intern that came in and worked with some marketing. So yes, for that short period of time, positive things did come of it. But then the rest of it, some of the heavy lifting was on the Friends group. And that's some of the things that are still kind of out there. What ended up happening is it became one event after another. We did the sand sculpting one year. We did, it became just a cycle of getting ready for the next event rather than spending our energy making some of these improvements.
Any other questions? Any other comments? Really appreciate your coming in and spending some time with us today. And a little reminder of what you have been doing and the follow-up that I hope that maybe more people will be talking about the Friends group then.
Thank you. That would make me very
So-
happy. And yes, I have no intentions of going anywhere. We have too much started. So thank you for letting me be here today. Please feel free to share my email address and my phone number. Always happy to talk to folks who want to learn more. Another comment I'll make, when I made the bylaws, I specifically said the only thing that is required is one board meeting a year. That's it. Because I did not want to have one. So if you have somebody who may be interested in serving on the board but says, I can't make a meeting every month, they're only required by minutes to go to one, but we would need a commitment for them to be involved.
Right.
Even if they're gone half the year, but we would.
Yes, Becky.
I just want to ask one question. I was looking at sponsorships, and I'm wondering, is that a function that should stay in-house with Bay Oaks, or is that something that Friends of Bay Oaks could get? Because this is Waxahachie's sponsorships. There's 15 of them,
Yes.
And so I'm asking, does that belong in-house, getting sponsorships, or is that something?
That did come up at one of our BORCAB meetings and a Friends group, and I thought we agreed that that one was going to stay in-house. That was my understanding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Denise, it seems to me we have a pretty good size retired population on Fort Myers Beach, and a lot of those people were professionals in their lives. I'm just wondering, I've always wondered how you tap that population. Did you have among the donors, were there fat cat donors, were there sugar daddies and sugar mamas?
I wish. There were not. Most our funds were raised not through donors, but entirely through events. They were through Cut and Pub Crawl and things like that.
Did you ever seek out individual donations?
Yes, we did.
And got nowhere?
No, but we probably didn't. We weren't as polished as some of the other Friends groups in presenting that type of a campaign.
I don't know if the town's ever, and I don't know if it's the town's job or our job or whose job, but I've always felt there should be, we should have some kind of knowledge of the retirees on this island and what their professions were, what they did. I wish we could index something like that and then tap those people. I think there's a lot of people on this island we don't know. I know a couple, but I'm not. But I just think there's a real reservoir out there of professional people who could really help.
I agree.
Have not been asked, have not probably been stimulated to do anything, but they're out there. And I'm not sure how you index them or create the reservoir. I'm not sure how to do that.
Well, I will say, one of our grant writers is retired. She has a background, Vera Roth. We had another one who was a web designer, and he, retiree said, I don't want to serve on the board, but here are my skills, and I would like to help you. So I've had a little bit of success, but the people that I named that are on our board, not a single one of them are retired. Every single person on our board right now works full-time.
Well, that becomes a problem too.
And that is why, that is the challenge.
Perhaps an organization, I know a lot of the organizations have fallen by the wayside, but perhaps an organization like the Lions Club. I mean, I know that they have retired people, and I'm sure professionally retired people. Perhaps reaching out to the Lions Club, maybe even the Chamber.
Speak at the Kiwanis event. That might be a good way.
The Kiwanis, Dean
Get on their
Southward, the
docket to
group.
speak.
I just think there needs to be an effort made to go find these people, because I know they're out there. They have to be there. And those are the folks, it seems to me, that can really help. That's probably how I would begin. But again, I'm coming off the top of my head. But I have thought about it in the past. Well, how do you tap that resource out there? Maybe start there. I'm sure there are some in the Lions Club. But I feel your pain. I mean, I know. I've been involved in things where I was left standing, and so I feel your pain, and I hope that each one of us here on the advisory board can help. I mean, I know we'd like to do that, and I think some of us are going to try.
Denise, would you be the spokesperson if we had to have, I couldn't explain what you've all done. I couldn't have said what you just said because I wouldn't know as much as you know. If we have you invited to different places.
I would love to.
Would you?
I enjoy speaking. I'm passionate about this, and I would love
Okay.
to. The challenge is I'm no longer self-employed, so I'm only available, I'm not available during business hours anymore. So that's the challenge. But I know Kiwanis has an evening event, and if you can find any other opportunities, hey, after a few drinks at a Lions meeting, that might be the perfect time to get
Absolutely.
You bet.
So I would love to, yeah.
Okay.
I would be happy to.
So you could talk to, if I had you at the church, you could talk to them
Oh, I would love
yourselves.
to.
Okay, because that's what
Yes.
they're going to ask, is if you yourself would want to come. And I think you speak to the heart of what you've done, and we've watched you do, and I think that your passion shines through you. So I believe you're the best person to speak
I'd
at
love
events
that.
like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
How long have you been on the beach, if I can ask?
19 years. I'm on Connecticut Street. I'm part of that great neighborhood, which that's where, when we did the stuffing of the Easter eggs, I did a shout out to all my neighbors, and we really have a great community. They all showed up, and we spent the afternoon stuffing eggs. So That's the great part. This is the
You bet.
challenging part, but we have really amazing people on the island that come through when you need them. So,
You
yes.
know, something you said before, I'm not sure that, and I understand conflict of interest laws very well, but I'm not sure that that would be a conflict of interest for a staff member or even some of us here to be in that foundation. I don't think that's a conflict of interest.
It may not be. It was
I
just,
don't-
it was
I-
just
I
a
don't
question.
think it is.
Yeah, it may not be. I know there was a question at one point about more than one person from BORCAB serving on
Yes.
the Friends group.
Right.
And that's why I was the only one at the time.
Well, that you have to be careful of, yeah, but,
Sure.
but
Sunshine
but in
laws.
that instance alone, I don't think that's a conflict of interest. So we want to think about that.
Do.
Now, you know, the town may
Yeah.
want to ask the town attorney, but I just don't think it is. And so we might want to think about that.
There have been BORCAB members, CellCab members who were also members of the board at the Friends of the Mound House. So
Yes.
according to their bylaws,
I think you can't have two, I don't think.
Because the sunshine.
Cut of the sunshine,
of
yeah. You
sunshine.
could have one,
Yeah.
but you can't have two.
Right.
well, we had two, but as long as, I think everyone was aware of the conflict of interest.
Again, that
Oh, yeah.
depends. That
Yeah, you
depends.
just gotta be very careful on.
Well,
how
you gotta be
do it,
careful,
yeah.
but that depends what you're discussing. But, yeah, some of us may want to consider that. At least one of us.
Denise, is all of your information still the same, the email and the phone that we originally had as a group?
Yes, it is. I'm sorry?
How can we get in touch with you?
I'll send out an email. I could give it to you now, but it's a long email address, so I will follow up with an email giving you my
Okay.
contact information and links to the Friends Group Facebook
Good.
page and anything else I think might be of interest.
Very good.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was
Thank you.
Good
really
to see
great
you.
seeing you all again.
You too.
And your daughters look like they're doing great, by the way.
Oh, I know.
They are.
They are darling.
Good job,
It's
Mama.
close to empty nest. I'm not
Good
sure.
job.
Good job.
You know, just as a
Thank you,
follow,
Denise.
a follow-up to Denise, I just pulled up Retired Professional Society. This is one in New York, and they have a monthly meeting. And I'm, just while we're on the topic, and Allison's here, and we're making a list, hopefully, of things that will go on at Bay Oaks. I've often thought we also needed like a newcomers club. Yeah, like a welcome, when people
Welcome wagon type.
welcome wagon
Yeah.
type thing. I mean, you can
Right.
work through with the realtors and knowing who's just purchased or whatever, but it seems like, you know, you could have some retired professional society things once a month and try to engage some of those individuals and find out what their expertises are, and they could even be speakers, rotating speakers. I know in my experience, and I hate to be sexist, but in my experience, a lot of times men who retire don't have friends because all their connections were at work. They didn't make girlfriends the way.
That's right.
No, in the
Women
McDonald's,
always
they
had-
used to meet at McDonald's for breakfast, and that's gone now, too.
Right.
Right.
So,
That was their meeting place.
Yeah,
7
so
in the morning.
maybe those kinds of things might, they're not athletic, but there could be things that could be Bay Oaks oriented.
Is there a men's club on the island?
I don't know of one. I know.
Not that I could start one, but
Yeah, it seemed like
I
they
could see that could
started,
be a need.
Yeah.
McDonald's was definitely their meeting place, but I'm sure
they
that,
started going to Dunkin' Donuts when it was just over the bridge after the
Okay.
McDonald's. And then that fell apart because they had to go over the bridge. So, yeah, it's interesting. We have a lot of retirees in our condo. I could
maybe one of
drum
them
up
wants
some
to start
ideas.
one.
Yeah.
Doesn't the chamber have one of those committees or programs of welcoming new business people? Or
Businesses.
Yeah, but yeah, a packet that went to the
Business people
realtors would
come
be
when
nice
they
of all
can-
the different clubs.
when they come to the chamber seeking information,
Right.
seemed to me the chamber has.
I think that they do. But I'm unfamiliar with what it is right now and how active it is.
That's all, you know, it's
That's-
just always been a problem, this island.
You know, almost every week we see something in the paper, chamber meeting, and it'll show a couple new members. And I think that they try to do that a little bit that way. But I think the idea of our being able to go after the retired people that would probably like to have something to do.
Yeah, I think that's the direction to go.
Would this be an appropriate program for the library to begin? Is a professional group? So it wouldn't necessarily be current business related, which the chamber is, and certainly Bay Oaks, which is recreational based, but something that is more expansive in terms of its scope, so that there would be like a professional speaking group at the library. Joanne, are you part of the library at all?
No.
Okay.
no.
Well, that might be something maybe the library board might want to consider as a new program.
There's a Friends of the Library, isn't there?
Yeah, sure.
Right, but that's a different group. I'm talking specifically about a program that would be offered by the library itself.
Yeah.
And it would not necessarily be something that's active business related now, which the chamber does, but offers professional expertise by the former leaders of commerce or law or medicine to talk about, their life experiences.
The reason that I mentioned it in the context of Bay Oaks, though, was in light of your strategic plan and future vision. If you're going to have meeting rooms and things and expand beyond just straight recreation, what is your vision? I threw that in as
Yes.
if you're going to add cultural and educational or anything else in there to really make it a community center rather than just someplace you come to put your sneakers on.
Right.
And that's up to you. I mean, that's up to you working with the town council over the next period of years, 5 years, 10 years.
Yeah.
What is that vision? Is that not part of it, or is it? I don't know.
Point.
It just occurred to me that, talking about a reservoir, there is a reservoir out there. It seems to me there's quite a few friends of one thing or another on this island. There's friends of the library, there's friends of the Bound House, there's friends of the Preserve, there's friends of this and that. Maybe a good meeting with all of those, bringing all of those folks together might be in order. I mean, I think the ones I just named have been pretty active.
Yeah, I think
I
they
mean,
have
they're
to.
obviously people willing to be active. And I'm sure a lot of them have good ideas and probably some accomplished professionals among them. So there might be a place to start also, if you could bring all these friends of together.
That was Lee, that was what they were talking about, the Women's Club, having the not-for-profit. That is all the friends groups coming
Yes.
together. So it would be a great venue to visit that first, because many of the friends groups throughout the island actually come together to share information. So I think that would be a great idea.
And get those friends of, to become friends of us.
You bet.
Or perhaps we just need a Friends of Fort Myers Beach.
Well,
And we
Careful what you ask, or you're going to be running it.
we parcel a little out
exactly.
I
at a
vote you
time.
in.
But, so it occurred to me that I think maybe the people are already there. The people who have shown the interest and the time and the willingness and the expertise probably in a lot of cases. So they're there, so why don't we just bring them together?
Do that. Thank you.
I feel
And-
bad for Denise, I mean,
Passion, but
Yeah.
yeah.
all of a
it's tough.
sudden, there's nobody there.
Right,
She
right.
went to the meeting and nobody showed up. I mean,
Which
that's
would be
awful.
sad.
It is sad.
Okay, at this time, I would just like to acknowledge that our town manager has joined us, and very often he will make a couple comments for us. So is this a good time for you?
Always a good time.
Good. Welcome.
Well, first of all, I guess we're in December, so I don't know if I'll get to see you all individually or as a group again. So let me just wish you the happiest of holidays and healthiest of holidays. And please enjoy safely. We're still working very hard on a couple of issues that I'm sure are very close to this committee's heart. One is, what we should do with Bayside Park. And you know that you're probably aware our consultant has sort of a concept plan that they've drawn up and it's been shared. There's a request from the Anchorage Committee to see if that parcel would be either utilized either partially in full for a upland facility for the Anchorage. We still have some work to do with respect to what the parcel, entrance parcel to Bay Oaks will do. There's not really clear direction on that. So we have a lot of work to do if we're going to start moving those projects forward in 2020. So I urge you to continue to grind on those issues. I know it's hard building consensus. There's a lot of diverse opinions out there. But it's important that I think there's some momentum, and I want to be careful that we don't lose it. So not only the Bay Oaks facility as it is, what we're going to do with that, but also the entrance parcel there in Bayside Park. I'm sure you probably talked about some of those topics earlier before I got in here, but just encourage you to grind away on them and to try to build a consensus that we can take to the community and town council, because we're going to need their support for the inevitable funding of those improvements. So it's important that we have not 55-45 type of support, but 95-5 type of support for what we're going to try to do. So I encourage you to work on that, and to the extent that I could help you in any way, please feel free to reach out to me individually or collectively to do that. But I'm very excited, I know the staff is, to move those projects forward.
And what,
Yes.
the street, is it Gulf Beach Road? Is that the one that used to be that's next
Yeah.
to? what
Still,
used to
it
be
still is
Tops?
there.
Is that spoken for by anyone, or have you talked about any uses for that?
Well, that's a public right-of-way as I understand it. The ownership of the canal bottom there is contested, I guess, if you will. But right now it's until we know what's going to happen on the Tops property, we really can't make a decision with respect to it. So.
Is there the possibility that could be used for Bay Oaks in some way as an exit or
Well, it could
entrance or
be.
anything?
Well, it could be.
Because that would influence what we did with the parcel.
Well, I think,
know?
it can't, we have it closed off only so people don't use it as a shortcut.
Right.
We open it for special events, but it is a public road, if that's your question. So it could be opened.
Another question?
Yes.
I have a question about the Gulf Beach Road. You're saying that obviously the Tops property is currently on the market. To what extent do they have power over what they choose to do with that property, and why would that prevent us from not being proactive now and taking over that property we own?
Well, I'm sure you can keep it a secret among among the ladies and us. One of the things about when the Tops property comes in for redevelopment, one of the things we can do is ask them to approve the adjacent public property. And so if we sort of started doing stuff today with it, we would be doing it and they wouldn't be doing it. So one of the things we want to do is see perhaps what their plans are and perhaps what we can entice them to do to enhance, it won't be their front yard, but their side yard, which would also be a benefit to Bay Oaks. So since we don't have any finite plans that are hinging on that today. We're a little bit in a wait and see mode, but if we got to the point where we had to do something, we could go ahead and do it.
While you're here, has anything started on the opportunity for interlocal agreements with the county?
Specifically for what?
Well, for the things that the county interlocals with at Sanibel, Parks and Rec, lights at the ball field.
So the mayor and myself met with the district county commissioner and the county manager a week or so ago. And one of the items on the agenda was a discussion of what more they could do to help at Bay Oaks. While they didn't say nothing, they didn't say anything. They sort of said they would take it under advisement, but they did take time to explain to us their hierarchy of county parks, and they continue to interpret Bay Oaks as a local park.
Also Sanibel, but they sure cooperate with Sanibel.
Well, that's a political issue, perhaps more than
I'm sure it is.
And
So can we win politically? I mean,
well-
do we have the clout to do this, or don't we?
Well, I think right now with the district commissioner being new, district commissioner facing a
Race.
upcoming election, I think it's going to, some people may see that as an opportunity, and some people may say that that's going to be difficult for him to sort of buck the tides. I really don't know. But I do think that, we really need to be working with the other municipalities to get the county to be more flexible in the way they do their rule writing so that they can help the municipalities more than they currently do. Some of you may know, I worked for a municipality. There were 34, for the county, there were 34 cities. And when I got to a position of having some say in the management leadership of the county, I would go see all 34 cities and ask them what I could do to help them from the county's perspective. And I would do that every year. And I would always encourage my bosses, the county manager and the county commission, to try to help them. And they would say, well, we don't have to. Why should we help them? And I said to them, well, for one reason and one reason only. For the next 364 days, you have peace. Because you help them and you can tell them, I'll see you next year, and I'll try to help you again. And you don't get bombarded with requests throughout the year. So, I've always been an advocate of that, not for counties to do, exactly what they have to and no more, but to actually look for ways to help the municipalities. After all, we are part of Lee County. We are Lee County taxpayers. And I think the county is doing well enough in these financial times and its continued growth
Oh, yeah.
that it has the wherewithal to do more than the
Oh, yeah.
absolute minimum.
Oh, yeah.
And, I think if there's sort of political effort to be made, it would be among all the municipalities to go to the county to say, hey, the good news is we're not 34 of us, there's only 5 or so of us. Why don't you do a little bit more than you have to help us out? And then let us decide locally how to use that money to best meet the needs of our constituents here in Fort Myers Beach or Sanibel or Estero or Bonita Springs, et cetera. So, if you were asking me what would I recommend in terms of a political strategy, that would be it.
Well, would it be your position to wait until after the election next year?
Well, it's a budgetary item. I think that we should begin to be working now to ask to work with the other cities and municipalities to put together a plan, since, when you really think about it, collectively, we have the most voters. If you put all the cities together, to go to the county and say to them, hey, we want you, not because you have to, but to give us X amount of money every year to help us meet the needs of our citizens, meet the needs that you can't meet, or because, you don't get out here and you don't really know what they are. So their budget year runs the same as us, as October. They start their budget in the summer. So we have 6 months to work with the other municipalities to do that. There's the League of Cities, the local League of Cities. And maybe it's a topic to be brought up and discussed there. If not, I know the mayors meet occasionally. Maybe that's another venue that concept can be pursued at. I know when I met with the district commissioner, I mentioned it to him.
What was his reaction?
His reaction is like, he's still trying to figure out all the lay of the land and how all the things work and how to get things done and work with his colleagues and all of that. So I think it's on his list of things. I just don't know if he, where he is amongst all the things on his list in terms of his role as a county commissioner.
Okay, next question. Has the town made any movement yet to talk to the school board regarding their property and any partnerships with us in terms of Bay Oaks, in regards to Bay Oaks?
So I did talk when I mentioned a meeting I had with the district commissioner and the county manager and the mayor. I did mention the property issue there with the county. And I did run into the member of the school board. And she indicated that she would be working with us to set up a meeting. We haven't, because of the holidays, kind of timed that out, but it's something that she was interested in doing, and of course we're interested in doing.
She's going to help set up a meeting.
Well, I think it's important, there's sort of two paths. There's the administrative path, and then there's a path from elected official to elected official. So I think a good start would be the elected official to elected official path on that particular issue. Plus, it gives us a little time to figure out exactly what we want, because I think we're still trying to figure out, I think it's more than going to them and say, hey, we want your land. We need to say, look, we want to do this on your land. We need another 10 feet, 20 feet, 100 feet, whatever it is. We need to give them a reason for them to give us more control over their land, just ask for it. So I think we need a little time to figure that out as well. But I think that there is a symbiotic relationship. I think everyone knows that. And I think if we make a reasonable request and we're going forward to make improvements that would benefit the school and the kids, that they would be sympathetic and supportive.
It's catch-22 if you don't know how much land you have.
Well, we know how
You
much
can't make
land
a
we have.
plan and ask for
We,
something.
we,
How much
we,
land we
so
have.
let's stop that question. We know how much land we have. The problem is that our arrangement for that land is not really clear in terms of cement. So we need to do two things. We need to clarify it, and then to the extent that we need to expand our boundary because for good reason, then we need to have that conversation. But right now, I can go into them and say, hey, we want to clarify our agreement for the land we currently have, but I want to go back to them in 90 days and say, oh, and now, by the way, I need another 10 feet. I want to do it all in one time. And part of that is for us to understand what we're doing so that we know whether the existing land is what we need, 10 feet more, 25 feet more, 1,000 feet more. I don't know the answer to that. And I think they're going to want to know that. If they're going to want to enter into a long-term relationship with us, an agreement, they're going to want to know for what?
Is there any possibility of the school district divesting of that property? I mean, do they really have any need or plan?
Well, I
for
don't
it?
think, I think while they're government, they're an enterprise also with funding constraints. So I think that, the school, I think, as I hear, has 100 or so children going there.
Right.
I don't know if that is going to
92.
improve or worsen over time. I think there will be some point in time that if it doesn't, stay at that number or improve, that they're going to have to think about what they do with their land. Like us, we have very firm rules and procedures how we dispose of land. I'm sure they do too. But I think the thing to do is, obviously, if what we ask for is really going to be important. So right now, it's clear that we need to improve our current agreement. We know that. So in doing that, let's also incorporate any boundary changes that we need. And again, I think it's important that we could show them the need as part of that request.
I have experience in that regard, regarding their land and the school system. When I was president of the Historic Society, I think I said that. I went to the superintendent, and there was some opportunity there for the Historic Society to get some more of that land until the school board attorney, who I believe is still around, stepped in and saw and raised the dollar signs of that land back there behind the school, that they might not want to give any of that land away because it's very valuable land. So there's that. I mean, that's been there.
Right. Yeah, I don't know that they're, again,
They've never had any plans to expand back there. And as a matter of fact, that school has teetered on the brink of closing for a couple of decades. They've had superintendents who have had the heart to keep it open. Browder did, and I understand this one does. But it has teetered. I don't know how many votes they might be away now of closing that school. And like I say, the attorney saw the dollar signs for all that land behind it. There's a lot of land there.
sorry.
And who's going to get that land is an issue that is not far away, I think. And I
Right.
would really like to see this town I would like to see this town and our historic society get that land. I don't know how you're going to do it, but I hope you do it.
I hope we do it.
It's very valuable land.
Yes.
And let's not forget the other conversation with the school board, and that is, like the county, what will the school board be willing to do for Bay Oaks what it does for the Sanibel Rec Center, which is tossed some money our way for the children who come from their schools into those rec centers. They do it for Sanibel, will they do it for us?
Well, I think a couple of things. One is that the school board or the county is not going to do anything. They're not going to wake up tomorrow morning and find God. Okay, they're going to do it because it's to their probably political or some other advantage. So what we need to do is convince them that doing that which we desire is to their political and/or some other advantage.
And it's the right thing to do.
Well, I like to think they think about that, but I don't know that it's really,
Well,
really high on their priorities.
Well, if they're doing it for other towns, why wouldn't they do it for us?
For us.
Well, I
And
think
why
that-
aren't they doing it for us?
Well, I could spend an hour explaining that to you, but for one reason perhaps you might want to think about is,
I think
I-
it's a
you know,
pretty simple question, and it's a pretty simple answer.
I could tell you the answer is that it's a factor of how many local kids go to the school.
Yes.
Okay, Ray Sproul, I think it was mentioned, we need to have a firm plan. You know what, we want to build this on that piece of property. When you bring it that way and then start publicizing why we want that, then they're going to be pressured into giving it.
Of course.
That, you know, just saying we want that field because we want that field isn't going to do any good. They're not going to give it up. But they can be guilted into it by pressure, by, hey, we want to build this park, like Cape Coral's, you know, is on the news. They're going to do these big, huge, beautiful parks.
4 parts.
That looks
Yeah.
great. I'm so jealous. You do that, you get it in the news, then they're going to feel pressured, we got to give it up,
Well,
to a certain degree.
And
We
they'll
can't
want to
just,
get involved in it.
and get involved
Yeah.
and make it, oh, this was part of our idea, and we're,
Yeah.
you know, it's all the political game in that regard.
know
I
how
think
pressure they're gonna
we
Yeah.
need to come up with the plan before we go and pressure the county, because they're going to say, no, the school board,
Well,
we're
I
going to
could
push
argue
back.
the other side of that coin. I could argue that we put a lot of time and even money into planning something on their property and we don't get it. So, you know, that's.
Well, I mean,
that's the other
ideas are
side of
not
that
money.
argument.
You know, we're not spending money to come up with the idea, other than,
No, but you're thinking historic. From
Well,
your
I think,
experience. From your
I want to just
experience.
say a couple of things. One is that, you know, if you have a good idea, you will get support for a good idea. And then the second thing, which I won't take credit for this, you probably all saw it in the movie, but if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
So if you have something that, you know, you want to build that is well supported, going to meet the needs of a large number of diverse population of the community, people want to get behind that idea, and people will
pressure.
be supportive, and people will want to be part of it versus being perceived as a impediment to it.
Well, and as soon as we started seeing.
That's where the right thing comes in, Lee.
Yeah, you bet. We started seeing some publicity. And as soon as we saw that publicity, then people were starting to say, are they going to tear down Bay Oaks? What's going to happen to Bay Oaks? You know, but they didn't mention that before. But it was the publicity that we've had with the meetings and the exposure that our newspapers have given to us that have really brought it to the forefront.
I tend to use a lot of analogies, and it's the person with the 10-year-old car that needs a big repair. Do you repair it, or do you get a time to buy a new car? And I think most of the people out there in their everyday lives, if you kind of plant that picture in their head, they come to the realization that once I have a 10-year-old car that needs some major repairs, it's just not worth it to put the money into it, and it's time to get a new car. So I think we've cracked that egg. Now we have to cook it.
I think you're correct, Roger, and I agree with Ray too, to say that, it's being jealous of the Cape Coral 4 parks and the publicity that they've gotten in the press about that, and the funding that they've achieved through the city of Cape Coral is building exactly on that, because it's not just one element. It's not a staff responsibility. It's not a town council person responsibility. It's not an advisory board council responsibility. It's everyone's responsibility. And the fact that we can all come together with this vision, with this plan, and put together the concept about what we envision this property to do for the community will raise that awareness and raise that excitement, just as has happened in Cape Coral. And so then there is pressure placed on the county commissioners to say, wow, this is really exciting. And guess what? There are 20,000 voters who can, vote me in if I, seek to establish interlocal agreements or, help put that project to fruition. So I think it's a combination of all of our efforts, and the timing could not be better than it is right now. I'd love for us in the next couple of months to come up with a concrete, not that a concept can be concrete, but at least come up with the ideas to get that ball rolling.
All I could say is that it's a lot easier to show somebody something and say, look, we're willing to put our money behind it. We need your help, whether your help is in giving us land or your help is in some financial support or whatever. But I think the first thing is showing people that we're willing to go the distance with the project. And I think we're getting there, and we just need to persevere.
Takes a little bit of time.
I think, again, if we have a concept that this committee and then the community can rally around, then we can go out to others to get their support.
Okay, how do we get the community to rally around us?
Well, I
What are we doing
Well,
to-
I think the first thing to do is to have a great idea, and I think that, this committee needs to work together to help bring that together. And there's two ways to do that. One is your ideas, and then the second thing is giving the consultant some clear direction as to what you believe through your outreach to the community, people who you talk to, in terms of what they would like to see Bay Oaks become.
I don't think we have the consultants tasked with that, other than the parcel. I mean, that was also something we've discussed.
Well, I think
they need to have a
you're right.
task to design that.
They do, but, it's a lot easier to give them something more than a blank page and a check. It's better
Right.
it's better to say, here are some of the things we want to do.
Which we've come up with that type
yes.
of, we've got that wish list.
Yep.
We just
Okay,
don't have the
so-
person that can take that wish list and design it. They're not tasked with that.
Well,
Can we add that on as a task?
the answer is with the council's support, we can. I
Okay.
don't think that it would be a difficult lift, but I do think that the clarity of that is not something that I can say that I'm aware of, but I'm glad to get educated on it.
If you don't mind, I'd like to jump in and say too, if you have a wish list, we'd like to see it. Where is that wish list?
I
Very
think
very specific wish list.
We actually brought it to that joint council meeting. It was sort of a bulleted,
Right.
Yes.
that was, I'm sure we can continue to add to that, but yes, there is a wish list, and certainly
And
we
then,
can
and then what does
expand
that wish list become then, in your minds? If you were to take this piece of paper, this aerial view of Bay Oaks, what does that wish list become then? I mean, each of you need to grab an aerial view of Bay
Oh, we
Oaks,
Yeah,
Well,
I think
and that's what we can't,
and get concrete,
the other thing is, one of the things is, you have the facility, and you may have talked about this earlier, but the other thing is that we don't have rock climbing, and everyone in the community wants rock climbing, so now we need to provide a facility to have. Those are the types of things that we have, we say, how do you get support? It's what does everyone want? Everyone wants, I don't know, if they want a wave park.
on pickleball.
If they want 100
How
pickleball
many?
courts, then
Right.
that's fine. Then we need to, recognize that and deal with that. But I think one of the first things you do is you say, okay, we currently offer X, Y, and Z, and now we want to offer A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. And we want to offer it this number of times a week and these hours and those types of things, so that People could say, oh, well, you just want to, you want to do the same thing in a nicer building. No, that's not what we're about. We're about increasing our scope of what we're offering the public. And to be able to do that, we need to make these modifications or expand our facilities to do that. So it's not just, well, you know, I want 12 meeting rooms. Great, let's all agree we have 12 meeting rooms. Now, what are we going to? How are you going to fill them up for you know, 16 hours a day?
Right.
Doing what? So that's part of it too. So that's how you build the public support, is saying, well, wait a second. If they had, I don't know, basket weaving twice a week, maybe I would go to that, you know. So I think we need to do two parts of it. One is the physical plant part, but the other part of it is, how do we tell the public, here's what we currently offer, here's what we could offer if we had the right facility. And I think those things work hand in glove.
And when Denise Moynihan was here before, she talked about people being upset that they were going to lose Bay Oaks. Well, sometimes bringing forward a plan that people either love or hate is how you get passion. I mean, so if you want to generate passion, negative and positive, but get people involved, then we need to propose something. You need to propose something very concrete and have people respond.
Well, that
It's a
goes
way
back
to-
to my question. How do you do that?
Well,
You know,
I
Denise
think
can't
you
even
do
get
that.
4 people to meet with her, okay, on a grant writing foundation. So how do we get the community to tell us, look, this advisory board has handed the council a plan. We believe that Bay Oaks needs to be better than it is, nicer than it is, and offer more than it offers. Okay? Now, I have had people on this island ask me, well, are you going to go out and ask the people of Fort Myers Beach if they want this? Well, that's a good question. Are we going to do that?
We always do. We always have charrettes.
Well, when are we going to do that? And, you know, I think you're putting the cart before the horse here, Joanne. We can come up with all the greatest wish list in the world. But I think the first thing we have to do is ask the public if they want this. Because this is going to cost money.
Actually,
Are you willing to support this, ladies and gentlemen of Fort Myers Beach? Are you or aren't you?
Actually, I'd like Roger to respond to that, and I'll tell you why. Roger's been in charge of many infrastructure projects in many communities, so he can probably advise us better than any how you get the cart in front of the horse,
Well,
and when the cart is in the right spot. And what Roger is telling us is that we need more of a plan. Am I wrong, Roger?
No, I think you are. I think you're right, Counselor. You know, I think my experience is very simple. You have a need, and then you go out to the public and see if they agree with the need and the way you're meeting the need. So I believe that we need to look at our programming and the things that we offer. We need to explain how those things don't fit in our current facilities. And then if we have 85% support on that basis, you're done. If you have 50-50, then maybe you do need to put it on a referendum to get the public to vote it up or down, because they can't decide whether you want to go forward and spend taxpayer money to improve these things. But, you know, sometimes you have to do things that even the public doesn't understand or needed. And because you have to have the foresight and political will to recognize that. So I can't tell you where we're going to be at once we have a fully vetted plan, but I will tell you that the two things, you know, you can talk about stage 2, 3, and 4, but you really need to be focused on stage 1. And that stage 1 to me is very simple. What do we offer today? What could we potentially offer that people want? We could offer things they don't want. but we need to, what can we offer that people want? Then how do we build facility amenities and other things in support of that which people want? And then as that goes through the process of meetings with this committee, charrettes with the consultant, the council meetings, et cetera, we'll find out pretty quickly where we stand with the public. And if they're clearly supportive, we know where we stand. If they're clearly not supportive, we know where we stand. And if it's a close call, typically what councils will do, will put it out to referendum as a non-binding question to see if the community wants to support it. So, but the first thing you have to do is have something. And let me tell you, if you ask me today to, if I set aside my insider knowledge and just as Joe citizen, I wouldn't think that we have enough information for me to be supportive of something, although I would be inclined to be. We need to really clarify that. So,
What do we need to clarify?
I think we need to clarify if we're offering, I'm just going to say, if we're offering Mahjong twice a week for an hour, and there's a need to have it 4 times a week for 2 hours, we need to show that.
How do we know there's a need for that?
Well,
How do we know the people
Well, I
want
would
that?
think the people who come in and play Mahjong would say, I really wish I could play more often. Or my friends would like to join us, but there's not enough room for them. Or whatever it is. That's the beginnings of how you find out. You could do a survey. There's a lot of ways to find out. But I think the people who participate and say, look, I'm going to work out and I have to wait 20 minutes to get on the machine, that's telling you something. It's telling you either you don't have enough equipment or your gym's too small.
Okay, so
When I was a little kid in basketball court, and you said, okay, I'm up next to play, and you got there at 9 o'clock and you get to play till 4, guess what? You need another basketball court. So I think there are ways to begin to find that out. And then if we're in doubt, then you go to, let's do a survey, let's do a mailing. I mean, there are ways to find out. Let's put something, there's one, we have a newspaper that asks a survey question every week. We can ask them to put there are ways to find those things out.
Those are the steps, okay? So when do we take that first step? When do we begin that step?
Well, I
And
think
who
the
does that?
Well, I think
Does
the first
staff
step.
do that?
Yeah, well, I think the first step is for the staff to take the current schedule for what we offer in season, in a given week, a peak week, and what we offer in the off-season for a given peak week in the off-season, and then say that, okay, this is what we currently do. Based on the information that we have, and although our information may not be perfect, this is what we think the public wants. And then we have a public discussion about that here and at other places to find out if that gets validated or not. And then if necessary, we do use other mechanisms to try to validate that if we don't think if everyone comes in and goes, you know what, that's exactly right, you don't need to do a whole lot more validation. If someone says that's a bunch of BS, then we have to, and the staff still feels it's right, then we still have to, we do have to do a lot more validation.
Can I ask how far Allison and Sarah feel you are in this process? Do you feel like you're there and you know that
So-
information? Do you feel it's already been organized
The
and it's ready
survey
to
and the
go?
information actually started years ago and was the first thing that the strategic planner did, the first one did. So we have continued to compile all this information. Plus, recently we have comment boxes and surveys, plus Denise has information on the friends. What we would do is we would tag on to that, just like Roger's saying, here's what we have, here's what we could, what are your opinions? And to be able,
Excuse me a second. I have
Yeah.
to run, but Allison, please feel
Yep.
free. And again, I think that's which way, what we're offering, what we can offer, and that we would know that the public wants, and then B, what kind of facilities are needed to support that. And if we can get that down in the next 60 days or so, then we can give it to the consultant to start drawing it up.
See, now we've got a time frame.
Thank you, Roger.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
so the process has already started.
Yes.
Staff is compiling just what Roger said. What do we offer in peak season and off-season? What would be things that we could offer if we had accommodations for that? So We have 60 days, and that was his task on that, to be able to bring this forward. The surveys are what people do all the time, Lee. They send out Facebook, just like Denise was talking about. They have a website people can put comments in, or face-to-face. When I'm out in the public and I bring up a topic, our advocates, you all are advocates here for Bay Oaks. Hi, what do you think about Bay Oaks? Do you utilize Bay Oaks? Do you ever come there? What would bring you there? If we did offer something, what would it be for you to come and participate? So it's a compiled, process of just information, because everybody loves to give information differently. They receive it and they love to. So it's a combination of many different things. So we've already started some of the process, so we have a good basis, because that was what the strategic plan was. So that survey, how many survey questions was it that went out, that Survey Monkey? And Becky, you remember, because it got to be where it
Yes,
was, can you
too
ask
many.
me another, too many questions? So
Right.
we have that on top of some additional things. We also have comment boxes right now at Bay Oaks for anybody who's utilizing. Please tell us how we can improve. What would be your suggestion? So it just takes time to be able to
And what-
compile.
Are those boxes producing actual comments?
Sarah?
Not as much as we'd like. I check them on a weekly basis, and there's maybe one or two a week, and there's small things about classes and updates that staff considers, and we do make the changes as necessary.
They were put out in summer, so we're
Correct,
hoping in
yes.
Oh, they're
season
out
they
there.
bring. Yes,
Oh,
they
yes.
are.
People aren't responding very well.
Both at the pool and the rec center, we get maybe once a week, we get a response.
Maybe remind them that it's there.
Well, and I also think that, once the press gets wind of this concept plan, however it's going to, materialize, and those that do use Bay Oaks and those that don't use Bay Oaks will certainly begin to have a much stronger opinion, because all of a sudden now it's not just what can we provide you with the facility we currently have, but what is it that you would like to see going forward, and we want to be part of our visioning team. And then there's a buy-in, there's a sense of community, there's a sense of involvement, and they said, wow, yeah, I was thinking about this, but if you're going to do this, wow, I've got all these great new ideas. But, there's no point in having that conversation until that plan is out there for people to see.
Right. But it's still something that I think that we have in the back of our mind when we talk about it.
Oh, absolutely, that's our charge
that's
as
just what we
advisory
do.
board members.
Have
Exactly.
you thought about trying to get a couple of additional events that would draw more people during season this year to Bay Oaks, and then try to elicit information that way, like tying into Shrimp Festival, let's say? We know the Shrimp Festival's coming, you know what dates it is, you know it's in season, there's a lot of people. We know that they sell all the shrimp and do that down there, but can we do something at Bay Oaks as well? Something that's maybe kid-oriented, I don't know, with bouncy houses and whatever. I don't know what it would be. Like, if we could get a couple events to get people there. I mean, I'm one of those people, guilty. I don't go to Bay Oaks at all. I don't. I've been here 15 years. It took me 4 years to even know it was there. And there's nothing that draws me there right now.
Brings you.
Yeah, I joined a tennis club off island because the courts aren't good enough. I mean, for old knees, you can't play on those surfaces, okay? So I pay $1,400 a year to play someplace else. I'd love to pay $500 a year to pay at Bay Oaks. I don't know what that would be, and have great surfaces to play on.
Is it a clay court that you're looking for,
Yes,
Joanne?
yes,
A regulation clay
Yeah,
court?
the hard true or true hard, whatever they call them.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
because you can't play on that surface at our age. You
Right.
can't.
And that's an example of a need that's not fulfilled, that could be
Right.
fulfilled.
We're
if we
writing
had
that
the,
down.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
people pay to play tennis. They do, and I don't like to drive as far as I have to drive, but I do. So, but it's working toward these specifics, but it's hard to get feedback from those people like myself who don't go there if the comment box is there. So how else do we get that? And maybe an article needs to be in the paper absolutely eliciting what would draw you to Bay Oaks. Maybe.
So
I don't know.
the
How else can we do it?
Strategic action plan that was given to Bay Oaks, the BORCAB, on July 25th of 2019. on page 3, under community partner, no, wait a minute, I'm going to be on the wrong page. No, it was actually on page 2, under short-term goals, number 6, gather and compile data from the community through a series of public meetings to assist in determining the best use of Bay Oaks campus, current and future. Include targeted meetings with condo associations, women's club, Chamber of Commerce, Lions Club, Beach Elementary School, feedback from people attending community events. Find consensus on how to better serve the community and report findings to town council. Responsibility, BORCAB. Target date, December of 2019. So that was actually given to BORCAB
Yes.
for discussion on that. So that would be something that we would be working towards, as well as for staff to gather information.
Working off that example, Allison, like this year, have you thought about inviting the community, the condo association, for instance? They represent so many
Yes,
people.
and they've been to the
have-
Mound House before, so I do know
So
the
have you
president
invited
of
them
that.
maybe to have a meeting at Bay Oaks, do a tour, and then ask them what would draw them there? I mean,
So,
you know,
as
in
far as the
season-
special events, I'm just going to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
With all the changes that have happened with the department, we really need a certain staff person to handle these events. If nobody has ever done a special event, you don't know how much detail goes into it. And believe me, I have done the special events
Yes.
at Mound House, and people asked, for the National Register event, why weren't you? I was busy working. I had to make sure that everything, it is very, very time-consuming and it has a lot. So that was one of the things with the new media person, to be able to assist. Because
And
we
have the
definitely
RF
want the
we have
events to
a-
be
we have,
top-notch.
applications in already for that position.
We
I
do,
think,
and that was
right?
something that was going to be in my director's report, to let BORCAB know that the position is open currently, and we hope to be able to do interviews mid-December, or early to mid, not this week, but it is open, and we do have applications in for that. So yes, we will be definitely doing that, but we've got to have additional staff. We are so stretched so thin, and it really does take a lot to be able to do those events. And you don't want to do a substandard event. You really want to go out gangbusters and have it be just the way it should be, because you don't really get a second chance with that. And there's a lot on the line here with what we're doing. So we're hoping to
Are
be
you
able to get
thinking
that.
if they hire someone that you might like to have an event this year in season, or is it too soon?
Well, I mean, we already have some new events like the 50s dance for Valentine's Day. I mean, we're already doing some pretty big events that we could go ahead and gather information. It just depends. It's kind of too soon to say, because I really want to get that position in place and see what it takes off our plate to be able to reallocate. So I would hope to have something, and it could be something as simple as me calling Ron, Reese, who's the head of the Fort Myers Beach Condo Associations, the presidents, to see something like that could be easy. So we could do some things for sure. It just depends on how that dynamic goes with the new staff person.
Yeah, I'm not trying to put pressure on. I'm enthusiastic like everybody else is, and trying to figure out how we get this to fall together and when we get this to fall together.
They have,
Oh,
they
I'm
have,
sorry.
they have vendor stands at the Shrimp Parade, don't they? Because we set up, for Friends of Bay Oaks, we set up a
Right,
a
Becky,
stand
that would be great, yes.
at the sand sculpting.
You're right.
And there was a lot
Lot
of
of
people,
people.
and we sold T-shirts too, as a matter of fact. And there were a lot of people who stopped by to get
So,
information.
yeah, if we could get some volunteers, that's an excellent idea, Becky, because I was also thinking for some of the other events and having some, like the Women's Club, like Denise said, she would go out and speak. She could help gather that information about, here's what what we need, do you use, and just kind of general conversation would be a great way to do that.
So we had shifts,
Yeah.
there was no, so it wasn't a big hardship on anybody, because we had 2 or 3 hour shifts.
That would be, yeah.
And maybe if they go to places like the Women's Club, that survey you're talking about, something that's concise, could be handed out and filled out right there at those times and collected back in. It might be a way of getting some other points of view.
Right, right. So we'll come up with a schedule on things like that we know that we can accomplish now without additional staff. And then when the new person comes in, I'd love to be able to pick their brain, because this is all to do with marketing and media. This is a perfect thing to gather that information from the community that we're seeking. And then maybe ask if one of the local papers would, maybe write up something for us to help get that input.
Will this new person be staff at Bay Oaks or for the town?
No, I have a copy of the posting. It's on, and I'm sorry to make additional. It doesn't. I think they would be. They wouldn't be. Their offices wouldn't be at Bay Oaks. But there's, if you want to pass that around, it's kind of not been clarified exactly where they're going to be, but I haven't heard anything about them being their offices there. I do know that they're going to be working with the town clerk, of course, to get that information out, and then as well as me, because we have a huge need in a lot of the departments. So,
Grab them.
yeah, I know.
Everybody else is going to grab this person.
You bet.
Well, I'm
suspect- I
pretty
suspect they're-
tough, Becky. I don't think you need to worry about they're going to get too far.
I mean, I've been
promise
harping
I'll
on
do.
this for a long time, and so
Yeah.
I still think that you should have at least a part-time person at Bay Oaks.
I know.
To do that job specifically.
I know, when it was coming up of the job duties, and I said I could really realistically 80%, give them 80% of, not that but I could. I mean, I really, I
Right.
feel that between the departments, I really could fill 80% of that job.
80% and nothing.
Sure.
We'll take 50%.
We'll take anything.
solid.
Well, 80 was my number.
Okay, I think that our time is starting to run out on us a little bit.
Okay.
We're losing some of our members. Can we get back on item 8? And what we had were the minutes from the October 29th joint session.
Correct, and this was from the joint session, and it has been requested by the clerk's office that the board reviews the minutes and adds any comments that they think are necessary, and then we will bring that to the clerk's office, who will distribute to council for approval and edits.
Okay, has everybody had an opportunity to take a look at those October 29th minutes?
Yes.
Okay. The big thing is that event planner. And some of these things that just keep repeating and repeating.
Getting people to utilize Bay Oaks.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
The marketing, and even listening to Denise,
Yeah.
it's very prevalent that that's a
Right.
need.
Exactly.
And if we can't keep them on the island, they'll go off the island. Look at Tops. They had me as a regular customer because I live on the north end. Everybody I know now that went to Tops now goes to Publix off island.
Right.
And so if we don't use it, we're going to lose it. And I think people will be passionate if they hear that, because like she said, with the tennis court, it's not a good tennis court. And so she has to go off island. We want to keep people on our island. We want people to enjoy the shops and everything we have. And if people don't know we're there and they don't know what's available, it just needs to be pounded in. I have a note in my condo right now on the bulletin board in big letters about Bay Oaks, and people are starting to ask me, but no, they were like, well, what is that? And I'm like, okay.
Hello.
I remember in the day when we used to just have all kinds of stuff at Bay Oaks. It was like a big party time, and families came together. And so what I remember isn't what I'm seeing, and I'm feeling like we're losing a lot. And why I said all that, I don't know. But I did like the craft beer festival.
Yeah.
Yeah, if that event coordinator can do something there. I think that for the
That's
shrimp
on the
festival.
list very
Yeah.
specifically for the
Yeah, because the
goal.
shrimp festival brings people from all over Florida. It's a big deal. So if they're on the island anyway, we could really get out there and do something, because I don't know about other men and women, but I know a lot of people that love craft beers, including me. So.
Adam did. I
Yeah.
think Adam did that, didn't he?
Yes, I think he did. Was it?
It was
Adam, or-
between Adam and then Kyle Karczewski,
Yeah,
the
that's right.
Yeah.
previous senior coordinator. Are there any comments, edits that the board would like to recommend for the minutes from the 29th?
Comments?
When is the 50s dance?
That's on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
February 14th, from 6 to 9. Mark your calendars.
Cost?
I don't know that it's
I
been.
believe it'll be free of cost. I'll have to confirm. I actually wanted to speak with you because after your sock hop that you hosted years ago there, you have some recommendations.
Well, we had
A pretty active one.
fortunately, it was, I miscalculated, and it was on the night of the Final Four basketball tournament. But, of course, we had a local bar owner contribute his staff and his booze to pouring the drinks. And we got all the money from the drinks. And we made some decent money, and of course, used it to put kids whose parents couldn't afford summer camp. But planned right, you could do a lot better than we did because I miscalculated the timing. But and it rained. Oh God, it rained terrible. So you weren't planning on charging for it?
We don't know yet. Sarah'd like to get with you on some details.
I'll
don't know
share
what I
it to
can
the
tell
board
you,
once the
though.
details are confirmed.
I think there's quite a few people on this island who would love to go to 50s style sock hop. I know the people who came, came in the rolled up dungarees. Women had poodle skirts on. It was a good time.
And make sure you get that info to Ron and DC right away.
Yes.
Yep. Bobby Socks?
Were you there, Betty? No, you weren't there. Betty.
Yeah.
Were you there?
Those were the days.
And so, is it going to be some kind of catering or?
We're working all those details. That's why Sarah, after the meeting or another time, if you can kind of share, because we want to get, everything kind of concreted in. We want it to be
Well,
affordable for everybody.
what's your instincts? Do you think you should charge for it or?
I don't know. I want to make it affordable. I don't know that we'll charge, but then we'll have add-ons. So probably be free, but we're just unsure. We don't have all the details yet.
Let me ask
in
you
there.
something. When you do those things at night, you have some of your staff there.
Yes,
Is
staff
that
has to be
overtime?
there. Well, we try to flex the schedule, so it's not overtime, but it is an extra part of their duties. So instead of doing something else, they're working that event, which would be extra, because it would be, 6 to 9.
So there's
Additional time.
Additional time, right, Betty?
what kind of expense does the town have of putting that on?
I don't know, we have never done this before, Lee, so we hope to have all that when we gather. We're getting pieces of the cost together now, but.
Oh, and also a disc jockey
You want, or live music, depending on if we can get somebody good.
or a live band that.
That's very important at a dance. Music
We
has
had
got
a
to be
disc
good.
jockey who had all the great records. Somebody convinced him to take half his regular pay on that, so we made some money, but I don't know. I'll meet with Sarah.
Okay,
but
great. We would love
be in
that,
touch.
Lee.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm not sure. Is it being, you're going to market it, you're going to advertise it?
Yes, absolutely.
It won't be on a Final Four.
Are the
game
local papers, are they cooperating?
Very much so. I've reached out to local editors, and they're more than happy to come out, and we had I think we're at the front page of.
But I think that
Are their stories accurate? I
that
mean,
the
are
new
they
position will help with that as well,
they
once they
accurate?
get hired.
Sorry?
Are their stories accurate? Did they cut, what they wrote about our plan, was it accurate? I didn't read it.
The stories that when I reach out to them, it's to do an oversee of our youth program and our senior program and different programming, what they report on, our meetings and whatnot. I don't really have a say on that, but when I reach out to them, they're more than accurate and they give us very good publicity.
Speaking about the Beach Town Council minutes, it was very good for me to read it. I thought it was very concise. It answered all the questions I had, so I'm all in with that. I think it's good.
Good.
If there's no additional
Okay.
comments for the minutes, I'll go ahead and let the clerk's office know that the board is happy with what was reported, so.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That moves us on then to our director report.
Which I kind of already told you about the position, so I
Right.
kind of already gave that out,
Right.
so, and that was
So
my
I didn't know if
update.
there was anything else that you
No.
had?
Just working very diligently on the strategic action plan, so things are in motion.
All right, well, let's move on then. We don't have any public here. How about board member items? Jana, since you haven't been with us for a little bit,
Yeah, I'm catching up. I watched a whole
Yeah.
lot of BORCAB meetings all in one sit down, and
that's good.
I feel like we've just come so far, and I want the momentum to keep
Yeah,
going.
you don't want it to slip back.
And what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing and what I'm reading, I think we do have the momentum, and I think it's very positive right now, and I just want to keep us going. And the more ideas, the better. And I'm even thinking maybe they can announce, that Fort Myers Beach is having something like a sock op on the news, our Fort Myers news, because people really love coming to the beach, and that's a way to hook them, you know?
The Mountain House advertises in Tropicalia, because that's the Sunday paper. I mean, I don't see why we can't have beach activities like the sock
Yes.
hop.
So whenever the new person comes in, actually that person is hired and paid for by the Arts and Attractions grant that the Friends of the Mound House get. So it's an actual person who submits that. So I would love for this position to be able to do that
Yeah,
for the facilities
We
of
have
the
to
beach.
go big, huh? Not just the beach, but we have to go big and do that. We can
Yes,
do
and
Tropicalia
also
too.
Jana's very correct. There's many times they come out and do live TV for one of the morning shows or whatever. I've done it numerous times. They were at, I can't remember last time they were at Mound House, a couple of months ago, I think. But you're right, people see it and they have interest and they will. So it's a combination of the different types of media. I agree. We love having them out.
Okay. Anything else from the director report? If not, let's continue. Jana, did you have anything else?
No, I didn't, thank you. I'm glad to
Okay.
be back.
Good, well, we're glad to have you back. Becky?
Yes, this is for your information. This is a list of the sponsors that Waxahachie Recreation Center has. And this appears, I'll pass it around if you're interested in seeing it. This thing appears at the end of their newsletter every month. So when their newsletter goes out, this group of sponsors goes out as one of the final pages. And, but somebody has to go out
And ask, yeah.
and round these up. If you're interested in seeing them. This is at the end of the Waxahachie newsletter, which I get every month. Yeah, you can pass it down.
All
Okay.
right.
So Becky, can you pass that over here if
Yeah,
nobody,
you can
after
have it.
it's.
It's just a screenshot that I printed.
And then
And
that,
here's the job thing.
yeah, that goes
Who
back
can
to
do
the
all
job.
this? Who can do all this?
The right
Yeah.
person, Becky, the right person.
I don't know, I couldn't.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything
And
else,
wait-
Becky?
Yeah. $5 per person.
For the dance?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Okay. And also, what Roger said, I feel like we've set back and we're starting something about doing research into what people want and what we could offer if we had the facilities that we can't offer now. This is like a different, a different aspect of what we've done, and it's pretty different from what we've really, from wish lists and stuff like that. So what do we do now?
So for the next meeting, here's what, Sarah and the staff are pretty close, aren't you? We're practically probably done about what we offer now in off-season and in peak season. So that will get sent out to BORCAB.
Good.
The homework will be to get out and speak to people that utilize. Staff is already asking that of people at Bay Oaks. We'll come up with a list so we can check it off and make sure. I'll email Ron Landisi. We'll get some things planned to get some feedback. But what we offer now, what could we offer if we had a campus and a facility that could accommodate that. So it would
Like
be
a
like.
community center.
Correct, Becky.
Exactly
Or,
what I want.
I'm making this up, but I'm just going to say, maybe it would be great to have, of course, we need a community center, and we need classrooms and space to be able to support the existing programs that we know that are very popular, and then what would we do to grow? What would be, so like, should we have a catering kitchen that could not only have for people to have events there, but offer cooking classes, or people to learn more about healthy eating, or, would you have a room like Roger was saying, basket making or ceramics, or have a facility that you could have as a meeting room? We want multi-purpose things, pickleball, things like that. But thinking outside the box and in the future of what people would love to have, what do people go off island for? Like,
Mahjong.
things like, the tennis courts, they need to be clay. We need to have a better
And
facility.
I know when I go like to play tennis, they have a cheeky hut with tables and chairs.
Yes.
And people bring stuff and they gather and they sit around there and they stay as long after the tennis as during the tennis.
Exactly. So places for leisure, the amphitheater, the cheeky hut that she meant. So different areas of, just like she mentioned, what would that be like, and how could we get there?
The gathering place.
A gathering place.
Yeah.
So if you
And
came for
that's-
pickleball or you came for
You bet.
whatever, you
Doesn't
gather
matter.
there. It
You're
doesn't
still
matter. There's a
gathering.
gathering place though. And then you can
Yeah.
hold special events under that cheeky hut sometimes too. Put with little lights and then do whatever.
Yeah, because people don't want to be in the sun anymore.
No,
I've
they
noticed
do
everybody
not.
goes to wherever the shade
The
is.
shade is.
Exactly.
So that's a big thing too, that we need to look at. We have enough
shade.
shade area to keep people there.
All right. Lee, what have you got for?
Allison, Jana raised this, talked a little bit about this before. Are you satisfied at this point with the momentum? I mean, you happy with the momentum? You
I'm
have some problems?
super excited that we're moving in the direction that we're moving. And I think that we'll only gain additional momentum as we come across some of the concepts that has been before us.
What kind
So,
of help do you need?
well, the Friends of Bay Oaks really need some help. Anything that you all can do to help advocate for that. It's such an important and great organization, and Denise has done just as you all know, a tremendous job. Also, you all getting out in the community and seeing how we can make improvements. I really feel that face-to-face communication is just invaluable. People fill out forms, but to have a conversation about and just learn, as you were talking about, Lee, what people do and what they might be interested in and how we could better serve our community. So that's where we need a lot of help, and also all your great ideas on how we can accommodate additional programming, and what would the new campus/facility be like in order to do that.
So, but at this point, you're well satisfied.
Moving
with it?
forward, yes, I'm very excited about that.
So for the next meeting, should we bring back ideas of what you're talking about, of needs that
Yes.
the community has that we can't accommodate
Right.
now?
And Sarah will send out what Barbara presented already to the council, because we did talk about some things already. And so we'll revisit that with the programming that we currently offer. And then, we'll start a list on those wonderful, if we could have the facility, if we got to, be able to have a classroom just for X, Y, then what could we offer that we would know that the community would want to attend and that would better serve their needs? Because this is really about better serving our community, and what would that be like?
I was really shocked to hear about how many people go off island to play Mahjong. That was an eye-opener. I didn't even know what Mahjong was.
We do host Mahjong. We currently probably have
Yeah.
about 15 women there.
And I'm like,
That's all you can fit in the room, though, isn't
Exactly,
it? I mean, we're maxed out at 15. Exactly.
We need more room.
There you are for Mahjong players,
yeah,
right there.
right here.
Oh, that reminds me, we did stop paying the church for the card players, didn't we?
Oh, yeah, Bay Oaks dumped that program completely. It's run by the people who play bridge.
Well, it was my understanding the bridge people left because
No,
of
no,
the
no,
noise.
no. Bay Oaks dumped them.
Okay.
They were at chapel.
All right, but we're not paying the church anymore, right?
Oh, that's
Correct.
like
That
2
was-
years now.
yeah.
Okay.
But you know, Bay Oaks did sponsor it, Allison.
Yes, I did. I
And
asked the staff about
during
that.
season,
It was
they had
very popular.
15, 20 tables.
Right.
Of
So
people.
see, yeah,
So,
very popular.
Do you have, over at Bay Oaks, do you have volunteers or seek volunteers?
We do seek volunteers, and I had actually given staff directive to put a call out to everyone, and this was a couple of months ago. Sarah, I don't know where you are on that, to see if we have people who would want to serve the front desk or special events. We had a great turnout for Fright Night and also for Easter, the Easter egg hunt. We do have a need for volunteers, and we have some very specific areas that we need help with. I thought it would be great for somebody to welcome people at the front desk, because you get to meet everybody, and I know that that's really very rewarding as a volunteer to be able to interact with other people and get to meet them. So we do have a need, Lee, for that.
I don't think Sean encouraged volunteers.
Yeah,
I don't think
I
he
just,
was.
there's just no way I could do
welcoming.
what I do without volunteers, including you all. I mean, it's just an integral part of the organization, so we are actively
So
seeking
there
them.
were seniors who volunteered, but they stopped
Yeah.
while Sean was director.
We'd like to get them back, because we really need,
And
some
you
good
your staff,
volunteers.
early on in the planning, we talked about, I remember I raised it, what they do at Sanibel as far as soliciting business ads for the walls,
Sponsorship?
sponsorships. Have we tried to start that yet? Or?
No, I mean, that's not something that we've been able to start right now. We're really trying to focus on the concept plan and kind of get that, so we can get that moving forward. But that is on our list of things to do, though, Lee. And it does have specifics on the banners and different things like that. So it is not going to get lost. It's on our to-do list on the strategic plan.
Ron Landisi told me yesterday the next meeting is in January, and the February meeting, they're both about fiber optics, but we can put something, he can announce something.
That would be great.
So you want to give him a call for sure, because
I will.
he's very intelligent and he remembers everything.
He
and-
does. I still send him our calendar. He said, just send it, please. And they came out to the Mound House. He was very helpful, even helped me with the marketing plan. That's his background. He's just a really, really great source of knowledge. I will reach out to him. Thank you, Jenna.
One last thing, and I just mentioned this casually.
Julie.
Casual?
And just for thought, maybe we need to start thinking about it. But well, let me ask you, Allison, do you think in all of this future we're looking at that the Bay Oaks perhaps needs a name change? Not much. I haven't talked about much. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that it should be left up to the experts, because I'm not an expert on the branding and marketing. But I hear many people don't know what it is. And when you have questions about maybe not what it is, but I would be open up for the discussion for sure, because I think anything that we can do to improve. I worked at a facility that had a name change, and two facilities actually, because the Edison Home is still called, people still call it the Edison Home. It's Edison Ford Winter Estates Inc. now. And then there was I can't remember the name of it. It went from, I mean, there is something about a name. I do think it's important, but I will leave that up to discussion
Work for
of.
Chris Pendleton there?
Of course I did.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So I think we need to start mulling this, just mull.
Seeing,
I don't know if Recreation Center is, I don't know.
Well, and you're talking about a gathering place,
I know
you're talking about a
Joanne
community
talked about a
center.
gathering place.
Right?
Yeah,
Uh,
so,
I started thinking about that the other day. And I'm not asking for a name now, but it's something to think about as we go into the future with this. What, put together with what it is we in the community want. I don't think it's going to be Bay Oaks Recreation Center anymore.
I think that can be a future agenda item for maybe
Yeah.
January or February. And in
Yeah.
the meantime, we can all be thinking about
Or
possible name
perhaps-
changes.
Or perhaps we continue thinking about it as we move along with the different aspects of what we want for the future. But either way, it's something I think we can think about and talk
Yeah.
about, I guess. But, I mean, I don't have anything in mind, but I wanted to see what your feeling was.
yeah, I do think that it needs to reflect whatever new vision and community, you want the excitement for things. And names are very important, so I'm open to, we'll definitely put it on for agenda item. And I think it's great to be thinking about as we move forward with the future.
Barbara? Okay. And I just wanted to say that I think this has been a real eye-opener with some of the things that Roger reiterated. I mean, I don't think he told us anything we haven't heard before, but sometimes we just need to listen to it a second or third or fourth or fifth time. So really appreciate the extra time that we kind of take to have that opportunity to learn from him, and certainly an opportunity that we've got. Okay, our future meeting would be January.
May I make insert one thing?
Yes.
When you're making your little list of your ideas, make sure you talk about the parcel. You talk to, don't just include that other back part of Bay Oaks.
The
but
whole
the
thing.
the new parcel on the street
Oh,
too.
yeah. Oh,
Yes.
Just-
absolutely.
Yes,
Oh,
Just want to
definitely.
make sure, because we really didn't talk about that. You didn't
Oh,
talk
no.
about that
Yeah.
today. Just want to make sure it was on your list. Thank you.
Well, where
Oh,
is
yes.
that with this,
It is.
whoever that was we were talking to last month, that group that came in? Which I
Oh,
never fully
Yes,
understood.
yeah.
Are they the branders or who was it, Joanne, we were talking to?
Yeah, they're not the branders. They're the ones that would design if we
Design.
want to do something on the parcel.
Exactly.
And they're waiting for more input. That was very confusing to them too. So if you have something very specific that went with your comments, bring it on. Right.
Okay, the only other thing I had was January 7th is our next meeting.
That's
and
the
that'll
next
be at
regular scheduled, if
Yeah.
correct.
9 a.m.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, can I?
If there's-
Can I ask one more thing?
You bet.
I just throw this out there, but should we right now, where we're at in this developing the future, perhaps meet twice a month?
I can't because I'm on 3 different boards, so that's going to really be hard.
I don't know about staff if,
Season is upon us, so
Yes,
if we
that's
do
gonna be
meet, it would
difficult.
be, we could accommodate, but it would, I think if you all feel the need to for certain months, we would definitely be open for that. I think February and March, though, are going to be extremely, difficult for myself.
I think so,
Well,
too.
So
let's-
those
They were
months
last year.
are,
Let's forget it
Yeah.
for now then.
those months were, but
Maybe go into the
January.
summer,
right.
And we can always call another, if you feel that you want to do an additional one, we can always call that at the next meeting. So think about it and
Okay.
kind of see how far we go, and then we'll see, Lee, if we need to schedule
I
an
just
additional
want
one.
to push a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't,
That's okay.
I'm not as infatuated with the momentum as some folks are. I think some push is in order.
All right. Okay, if there isn't anything else, I'd entertain a motion for adjournment unless, I think we're
I
very
so move.
fortunate to be able to have Joanne with us and appreciate your input.
Sorry, I hope I didn't talk too much, but I'm
No,
I'm
not at all.
enthusiastic about it, and I want to make sure you know.
Yep, I think it's great.
I so moved to adjourn.
Okay,
I second.
we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned at 11:03. Thank you so much.
We haven't decided. No, really, I mean, for me, I would leave the gym and build a community center. That's what I would do.
There you go.
The gym
Thank you.
isn't that bad if
Thank
it was, you know, retooled, but build a separate community center.
I agree. For sewing people and for knitting people and for mahjong people and for,
Well, Sanibel has one. It's actually completely independent from the rec center. And they have an auditorium and classrooms and look on the web.
But you know what?
And we could look and see the activities that they offer in their community center that we can't offer because we don't have the facility.
right. Okay.
It's beautiful. I wish we could do the same thing.
Yes. It would be great.
I'll have to go look at it while traffic isn't too bad.
Yes.
Because we know that's changing.
I don't care what they do at the gym. I know. And that's such pretty color.
Yeah,
Come in there without telling me.
but they,
I don't care what they do at the gym. Fix it up. Build a community center. That's why I was, that's why I was asking him how much land there is, you know, behind the school.
thank you.
That would be huge.
And he wouldn't give me an answer.
Councilwoman Ann.
So are you glad to be back?
Oh, I'm so happy to be back. I feel like I'm catching up, but it's not even bothering me because I'm just happy to do it. So that's a good sign, right?
I was gonna say, she will. Chase you down. That sounds like her, Lee.
Where is she? Oh, she got a boyfriend and left,
She
didn't
got
she?
married. She actually got married and lives in Sarasota now. She texted me not long ago, actually. Bye, Becky. Bye, Jana. I want. It just takes, anybody wants